Former President Donald Trump is back in court today, where a judge has held him in contempt for a 10th time. That's for violating a gag order. And now the judge is threatening Trump with possible jail time if he fails to comply going forward. We'll bring you all the breaking details there in just a moment. But first, we are monitoring the developing situation in Rafah and the Gaza Strip. President Biden and Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke on the phone a short time ago as the Israeli army orders some 100,000 Palestinians to begin evacuating the city, signaling that a long-promised ground invasion into the Hamas stronghold could be imminent. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany, here with my co-hosts Emily Compagno and Harris Faulkner. Also joining us, Hudson Institute Senior Fellow Rebecca Heinrichs and Fox News contributor and host of the David Webb Show on SiriusXM Patriot. You got it? That's David Webb. Well, we begin in Tel Aviv, where Jeff Paul is standing by with the latest on Israel's expected ground operation into Rafah. Jeff.
Yeah, Kayleigh, well, the IDF has been dropping these flyers in eastern Rafah, urging civilians there to evacuate. The Israeli military so far describing this as a limited scope operation, saying it is temporary and not a large-scale evacuation. However, this is affecting roughly 100,000 Palestinians who live in eastern Rafah. The Israeli military has been urging them through not only phone calls but text messages and those flyers to move to the Muwasi humanitarian zone, which is along the coast north of Rafah. All this happening as ongoing negotiations between both Hamas and Israel appear to be collapsing. Hamas just left Egypt yesterday, ending the latest round of negotiations, but there are some reports they could be heading back tomorrow to continue those talks. But on that same day, yesterday, there was also a deadly mortar attack on the Kerem Shalom crossing that the IDF says was fired from an area near the humanitarian zone in Rafah. Hamas claimed responsibility, and during a call with U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, Israel's defense minister Yoav Galant said there is no choice left but to eventually conduct some sort of operation in Rafah. Galant says it appears Hamas really isn't serious about coming up with a new ceasefire deal.
We are recognizing worrisome signals that Hamas is not planning to accept any deal or agreement with us. And the meaning of this? Operation in Rafah and in the entire Gaza Strip in the very near future.
Now, Hamas released a statement a little earlier today saying any sort of ground operation into Rafah would not be a, quote, picnic. But we should mention the IDF has not signaled that this is the start of any sort of major ground operation there on the ground in Rafah. We'll have to see as we keep our eyes peeled on the latest developments. Back to you, Kayleigh.
Keep us updated, Jeff Paul. Thank you. So I have here the president's readout, the White House readout of his conversation with Netanyahu. They talk about Holocaust Remembrance Day. They talk about the importance of humanitarian assistance getting to the people, the Palestinian people. But there's this line at the end, Rebecca, and it's pretty pointed. It says the president reiterated his clear position on Rafah. Okay, so what's the president's position on Rafah? Well, let's pull up Axios. Last Wednesday, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken visited Israel and had a tough conversation with Netanyahu regarding a possible Israeli operation in Rafah. Two sources briefed on the meeting said Blinken told Netanyahu during the meeting that a major military operation in Rafah would lead to the U.S. publicly opposing it and would negatively impact U.S.-Israel relations. Just so our viewers understand, Hamas leaders, we believe, are underneath Rafah in those tunnels. So essentially, the U.S. government says, sit back, Netanyahu, wait for the next October 7th. Don't get rid of Hamas. That's the translation.
Right. Israel has no choice but to go into Rafah and to eliminate Hamas. This is the last major stronghold where Hamas is located. And if Israel carries out its campaign, its military campaign against Hamas and Rafah, the way it has been conducting its military campaign, it will be very careful about non-combatants, that is civilians. If you look at the way Israel has conducted this war, I mean, it has had an incredible vilification from the international community and even now implied from the U.S. government itself. But if you look at what actually it has done It is really holding up the gold standard for a ground campaign. I mean, it has evacuated cities, 70 to 90% of civilians out of the area before it goes in. You know, the notorious roof knocking where it drops the munitions to warn civilians to get out of there. It's even passed out maps to civilians about where the IDF is going to be operating, which really even gives itself a disadvantage because Hamas can then know where it's going to operate. And lastly, it has also created these humanitarian corridors where the IDF is facilitating civilians to leave the area and to protect them from Hamas because Hamas wants to kill the civilians and then blame the IDF to continue the vilification. So Israel has really set the gold standard for what it's doing to go after Hamas, protect civilians, and the United States government should be giving Israel everything it needs to be able to do that, including the weapons that Congress just appropriated for Israel.
So to that end, Harris, I think that's an important point. Congress gives $26 billion for Israel. This was allocated by our legislature. And then over the weekend, we get this headline, U.S. put a hold on an ammunition shipment to Israel. Now, maybe there was some sort of complication. We don't have all the details, but a more sinister interpretation could be this is a signal to Israel. Our support is not unequivocal.
Yeah, I don't think it's sinister. It's sinister. I think it's logical. I mean, they couldn't get an outright bill through in and out of the House and in and out of the Senate and to the president's desk for aid for singularly Israel. So I think it's logical to think at this point, if they're now at the behest of people like Nancy Pelosi, former Speaker of the House twice, so on and so forth, at the behest of some Democrats, many of them very powerful, they didn't want to give any more aid to Israel for ammunition. So if they're holding it back, it's not sinister. I mean, it is. They are our #1 ally in that region. But it's also just logical on the part of how much can you flex for the Democratic Party? That's definitely in the playbook. My question is, what about all those other countries that you just signed that aid bill for? You know, for Ukraine. If you're sitting in Ukraine and you know that Russia moved in before the aid and the weapons showed up and blah, 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 what if it looks like you're not winning? Would we do that to that, you know, friend and ally as well? They're not a member of NATO, but we've clearly shown that we care about them. Like, how far will Biden flex? I do want to get this in, though. So the phone call that wrapped up about 30 minutes, they were on the phone, Benjamin Netanyahu and the president. First, they talked about the Holocaust Remembrance Day. So this was about an hour and a half ago. They spent 30 minutes on the phone. The two leaders talked about one of the darkest chapters in the Holocaust in human history. And then Biden updated the prime minister on efforts to secure a hostage deal. We don't often hear Biden talk about the hostages, so he did with Netanyahu, apparently. This is from the White House, including ongoing talks today with Doha, Qatar. The prime minister agreed to ensure the Kerem Shalom crossing is open for humanitarian assistance for those in need. The president of the United States reiterated his clear position on Rafah. They want to go into the last stronghold to get Hamas, Israel does. The president doesn't want them to do that. They can do what they want. They are a sovereign nation. They
are a sovereign nation. You know, Emily, I think what Rebecca said was really important. The great pains that Israel goes to make sure that they don't hit civilians. The single best description I have heard of Israel and put into just the scheme of world history, what they're doing versus, let's say, what we've done as a country. Let's watch. This is Professor Scott Galloway. Listen very closely to these numbers.
2,200 American servicemen killed at Pearl Harbor. We go on to kill 3.5 million Japanese, including 100,000 in one night. 2,800 Americans in 9/11. We go on to kill 400,000 people in Afghanistan and Iraq. We weren't accused of genocide, but Jews are not allowed, and Israel is not allowed to prosecute a war. And they are prosecuting a war more humanely than we have done. The ratio of combatants to civilians is of civilian death to combatant mortality is lower than it was in Mosul, lower than it was in Japan, lower than it was in Germany. So there's just a different standard for Jews in Israel.
Those are facts. Why is there a different standard for Jews in Israel?
He is absolutely right. And I have to point out that, you know, we are not here to discuss the morality of those heavy-handed responses. Instead, the reality right now that our president has prevented Israel from ending things. There is no better recipe for a continued abscess, for a continued fomenting, than to let the enemy fizzle and let our allies fizzle. He is doing the same thing with Ukraine as he is doing with Israel, which is placing so much handcuffs on these allies, placing so many demands on the aid that we give. But the exception is that with Ukraine, he's publicly incredibly supportive. We don't have that for Israel, that there is no way for these countries to adequately defend themselves and end it right now. The Ukraine situation has been dragging on for well over a year. If we had just given them what they asked for right away, they could have ended it. For Israel, we are now ignoring our own history, our own precedent to say exercise restraint, and now Israel is being subject to a fomented situation because Hamas is essentially being given whatever they want because our allies have been given what they want.
And as we think about Holocaust Remembrance Day, I think Netanyahu said it best. In the terrible Holocaust, there were great world leaders who stood by idly. Therefore, the first lesson of the Holocaust is if we do not defend ourselves, nobody will defend us. And if we need to stand alone, we will stand alone.
Yeah. You know, my friend Tibor Hollow died last Tuesday. I was at his funeral on Friday. We sat Shiva. They're still sitting Shiva today. He survived Auschwitz. He survived a second camp. His mother, they never saw her again after Auschwitz. His father, and he were moved to another camp. What he lived to see today, I can't even imagine what that means. This was someone who went on and up till he was 97 years old to teach others the lessons of this. The equivocation or the false equivocation by the Biden administration is a lie. Rebecca pointed out what Israel does. There are so many steps before a strike. I have been there. I have seen this play out. I have been briefed on it. This is something they do to preserve life because of their belief in life. If they're not sure it's a terrorist, they will not strike. It's that simple at times. And they are faced with people who will strike at them, strike at aid workers. They hit ambulances earlier today, and so much more.
Yep. And keep in mind, there are 5 American hostages. There are babies, Kafir Beavis, his brother Ariel Beavis. Let's keep our focus on them.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.